Shalom and good day, everyone. I first like to give honors to our Father in heaven, for his name is Yahuwah, and his name means I am he who exists. He is the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. I also like to give honors to his son, Yahusha HaMashiach, for he is known as the second Adam, the Messiah, who is the anointed one. He is the left in the Hebrew tongue. That means the door. He is the iron. In our language, that means he's the fountain of the living waters. And only through him can they abide in you. I also want to give honors to our mother in heaven. Yes, we do have a mother, just like we have a mother in the earth. For she is known as the Holy Spirit. Proof of that is given by the Messiah. For the Messiah said, wisdom shall be justified by her children. Again, my brothers and sisters, what's done in heaven is also done in the earth. Mysteries. Remember, Adam, we are made in their image, so what they do, we do. This is why there is male and female in the earth. Mysteries. She is known as the glory of Yah, the seven eyes and seven spirits of Yahuwah, and the spirit of wisdom. Okay, let us begin. What y'all see before you? Because I have a twofold message. It's a two message today, and I know the title written is not the full title. For the title today is dealing with what does it mean that the bread of Pentecost is leaven? What does it mean in the New Testament, y'all? And what is the daily sacrifice now? For those who have been studying the Father's calendar, you will learn through his sacred calendar. It will give you understanding of the biblical prophecies, of the mysteries, and the messages that are written in the New Covenant as well as the Old Covenant and the other sacred books that our Father has given us to read. Mysteries. But unfortunately, in this time, history repeat itself. The Pharisees, Sadducees, and Herodians of today are blocking it. There's no oil in them. They're like the five foolish virgins. So today the Father wants me to come before you and to share with you the mysteries, the messages. Okay, so here you see a picture of bread made of leaven. Take this time now to pause your screen and to look at that bread. I have another picture for you because most of us have kept Passover. And now some of us are about to keep Pentecost, known as Shavuot. And I know some of y'all are say that's already passed, but remember, we are following the prophets. We don't follow the you had, and nor do we follow the you had is the Jewish, and nor do we follow mankind. The Father has given the understanding, the knowledge to his prophets, such as Enoch, Elijah, Isaiah, Ezra, and many others. But many do not listen to the prophets. Y'all still falling behind mankind. Okay? But when you go back and read the prophets' writings that the Father has given unto us to read, you will learn that his sacred calendar consists of three lights, which are the sun, the moon, and Mazzaroth. And Mazzaroth is a Hebrew word for the 12 signs, known as the 12 star constellation that the Gentiles today call the zodiac. However, among the Israelites and among the Gentiles, I see great error among them, for many of their calendars only consist of one light. And that is a great error because when you go back to the foundation, which is Torah, Torah will teach you in Genesis 1:14 that his calendar is made of three lights. Remember, 3 equals 1. I know in math that don't make sense, but this is something spiritual because when you understand the Godhead, which is the Elohim head, then you will understand how 3 equals 1. For these lights imitate or mark what the Godhead do. In other words, just as the three work as one accord, so does these three lights work as one accord to give you one calendar. Another mystery is dealing with Adam. The two also become what? One. Mysteries. So this picture that you see before you is a picture of a flat bread and comparing to a picture of a bread made with leaven. See, Torah, y'all, is teaching us a lot of spiritual things, but if there's no oil in you, you're not going to see these spiritual messages. So today, within an hour, y'all, I'm going to give you highlights, but you have homework to do. For those who are following the calendar of the Most High, which consists of the three lights, which is the sun, the moon, and Mazzaroth, we would be keeping Passover this heathen weekend. Their day is Saturnine day, known as Saturday and Sunday. So we'll start keeping it on August the 7th, starting at sundown from August the 8th from sundown. So when this day comes in for those who want to keep it on this day to honor our Father, I'm giving you some bread and some waters to feast upon. Okay? Again, just when I'm speaking to you of mysteries. Okay? All right, let us go ahead and get this part now out the way, which is the copyright part. I will be sharing with you copyright materials today. And again, these materials I'm sharing with you are for edification. So the title of this word today unto you is Twofold Message. In the New Testament / known as the New Covenant, which is known as actually the renewed marriage. Again, when we go back to the sacred language, you begin to understand these words. The New Testament, y'all, means the renewed marriage. The old marriage had to be renewed. And it was a mystery that the Messiah told unto us. Not a mystery, but it was a prophecy that Messiah told unto us. He said it in John chapter 4. He said, the day would come, we shall worship the Father in spirit and in truth. And when you meditate on that, you will begin to understand what that means, because those who study the calendar, the Father began to remove some things from the Israelites, such as the temple, the menorah, okay, the daily sacrifice. He began to take these physical things or these carnal things away from them. And you have to ask yourself, why? If these things are sacred and holy unto him, Israelites and Gentiles, why would the Father remove that? And the answer will be found in the renewed marriage when you read the gospel. Okay? So the title says, in the New Testament, known as the renewed marriage, what is the debtor sacrifice, y'all? And what is the meaning of Pentecost / Shavuot leavened bread? What does it mean? What does it mean, y'all? You need to ask yourself now, because it's time for you to graduate. Y'all been on milk too long. It's time to get to the meat now, because we are in our Job. And just as our Father did with Job, he stripped him of everything because he needed to get Job attention, because he was telling Job, now that it's time for you to come up to my level. For I am the most high. I'm above everything. My thoughts and my ways is above you. Now, Job understood and grasped the understanding of doing the righteous acts, but the Father needed him to ascend and to understand the spiritual things now that are attached to the righteous acts. That's what the Father needs for you to get right now. Many of you are not graduating because you're still under these Pharisees and Sadducees and Herodians of today. They are holding you back. They are stumbling blocks. They are kingdom blockers, and they have no oil in them. Again, as the Messiah said unto us, we must be born of the water and of the Spirit. Okay, let us get into it. So, in the reader description box, you will have access to the Most High Calendar. But as I begin to meditate, the Father was letting me know as we go through each calendar month, there is a message that each month is giving unto us that many of us are not seeing. But only the Spirit of YAHUAH can reveal this unto you. So when you click on the calendar, if you notice that I list the certain fasts that the Father wants us to keep as a memorial. Okay. And what I observed that in those fasts, y'all, something was taken away. Especially when you get to the 6th month. It means nothing. Why would the 6 months means nothing, y'all? These are the things you have to meditate. Now, the channel talked about some of these mysteries, so I'm only going to give you highlights. But if you want more in depth, go to the channel and you'll find the videos that talks about these calendar months. Because it's a message that the Father needs for you to receive now. Because your salvation is going to depend on it. It's going to determine what you're going to receive in the kingdom to come. Remember, we are rewarded according to our heart, our faith, and our works. Remember the parables that the Messiah gave unto us, especially dealing with the 10 virgins. Okay? So when you click on that, review that as well. But now we're in the 4th month, and unfortunately, I could not find a Hebrew name for the 4th month because you know that when my people was in the Babylonian captivity, they began to associate some of the Most High sacred months with some of the Babylonian names. So unfortunately, I could not use that Babylonian name because it deals with another god, another deity. Because when you study the history of my people, you will always know this about them. They were heavily into idolatry. They will always take the sacred things of the Most High and mix it with what the heathens had. Because remember, the heathens' principalities was Satan and those fallen angels. Go back to the beginning, you'll see. Even the prophets talk about, like the prophet Moshe. When you read the book of Jubilees, it gives you a more in-depth history about how things came to be, about the history of mankind. And then you begin to understand how the Israelites kept continuing learning, kept continuing mixing the ways of the heathens with what the Most High gave them. It was already there in the beginning, and it's still happening now. So for me, I have given the 4th month a nickname. I call it the left, which means the door. The door. Okay. Because in this month, a lot of things happen. All right. Father's telling me to remind you, read the book of Acts dealing with this month. Okay. Because this month is giving you the spiritual messages that the Father needs for you to understand that goes in hand with Torah. It's the reason why he had his people to make the bread with leaven now. What did that leaven represent, y'all? Okay. So in this 4th month, we had a lot of biblical events going on, such as the days when Moses was upon Mount Sinai. Okay. But another important biblical event that stood out what happened on the 17th day of the 4th month. And this year it falls on the sun's 5th month and 5th day. Remember, the sun circuit is different from the moon circuit, so the sun have more days, so therefore the days is not going to be the same. All right. So in other words, the days of the sun is going to rotate on this calendar. Okay. But on the 17th day, our Father in heaven calls the daily sacrifice known as the oblation to cease. Okay. And it ceased in 70 AD in the heathens calendar. Okay. And Daniel prophesies about this. He prophesies about this to come, and Josephus written about this too. It's in Daniel chapter 9, verse 27. And in the work of Josephus, you will find in the book of War, book 6, chapter 2, number 1, under 93. That's where you're going to find it at. And you have to ask yourself, why did the Father allow the Romans to put an end to the daily sacrifice? What was to take the place of that? Something to think about and to meditate on. Now, this year it falls on the heathens. Let me see what month we are in now. Excuse me, y'all. It fell on the heathens month known as July, started on the 26th at sundown, ended on the 27th at sundown. Take this time now to pause your screen to get that date. But it's something to meditate on. Why would the Father allow that to happen? What was to take the place of it? Because we know the Messiah already came, for he resurrected in the 5,500 year from Adam. And so far, according to my research, I got it around 32 AD. I know some may say 33 AD, but we ought to have proof that he ought to came. He was crucified, he resurrected, and he set the captives free from Sheol, which was Adam and all those who came after Adam, and they ascended into paradise. Okay. Josephus give you more understanding about paradise and Sheol, which is known as Hades, and in the Greek tongue they say hell. Yeah, in the Greek tongue they say Hades, and when you translate it in English tongue, it means hell. Okay, so we know the Messiah already came. So some time passed. Excuse me, y'all. I had something in my throat. So some time passed. So now the Father had put an end to the daily sacrifice. Now, those who studied Torah, we know how important that daily sacrifice is unto our Father and his oblations. He put an end to the oblations and to the daily sacrifice. But why would he do that? What would take the place of that, y'all? Think about it. We're going to talk a little bit about it today. And then the last important biblical event, which falls on this year, it falls on the 29th day. And the reason why we have some variation from year to year, because the moon, according to the prophet Enoch, is 29.5 days. So from year to year, some months, some months are 29, some months are 30. So that's why we have a variation of the day of Pentecost, because we only keep it one day out the year, as written in the book of Jubilees and in the King James 6:11 and in the work of Josephus. But this year it falls on the 29th day, and we have a biblical event on this day too, because my ancestors, who are the Israelites, which the world today call the Jews, they kept a feast unto Yahuwah. Because when you go back into transliteration, you will learn that the English word Lord was for Yahuwah. Okay, and on this day they was what they was being what's the word? They did something very abominable unto the Father on his sacred day. They was worshiping the calf and not him. Now, when you go back and you read the book of Exodus, you're going to learn that they knew when this day was. That's how Aaron had knowledge of it. All these things was discussed unto them before Moses went to the mountain for 40 days and 40 nights. Go back and read the book of Exodus, and you will see how Aaron had knowledge that today was a feast unto Yahuwah. But our people, well, my people already had a history of mixing what was holy with paganism. Do y'all hear me? Because we're seeing that today. Mixing. And you cannot do that with the Father. Either you're hot or you're cold. There's no in between. They always had a habit of doing that because they want to be like the heathens. Okay. So here's your proof. You can find in Exodus chapter 32 that Aaron said unto the people, today is the feast unto Yahuwah. And that's reference number H3068. Okay. And how Aaron had knowledge that this was a feast day unto Yahuwah. Go back and read Exodus. You will see that Moses told them everything of what the Father told them, even with the holy feast days. Another thing the fathers reminded me to tell you, even in the book of Jubilees, he said unto Moses, in this mountain shall they keep Pentecost. That's something that should catch your attention. And when you learn that, when you read the King James 1611 Bible, they didn't leave the wilderness of Sinai until I think it was the second month on the 20th day. So, y'all, what I'm proving to you, even though they didn't keep it correctly, even though they did something very abominable to the Father, that was the day they were supposed to have Pentecost. Go back and write all these events out. Okay? Because I know many people have been misreading the scriptures and not been paying attention to the details, because when you learn about Moshe, he didn't go into the mountain till after the morning activities. So what I'm saying unto you, this is not based on a 24-hour period. This is based on the phases of the day. And when you write these events out, you will learn that he was coming off the mountain in the 40th night, because the people were sinning greatly. And the Father told him, go down, the people are doing a great transgress unto me. Okay. So now let's get into it. Let us first start with the daily sacrifice. The daily sacrifice, because I'm only giving highlights today. And your homework during this holy festival that's coming up for Pentecost is to go and study these things. So the thing you need to ask yourself, what has replaced the daily sacrifice and the oblation? What has replaced it? And when you read a new covenant, it gives you the answer. But I always like to go to what the Messiah say, because for some reason people have a hard time accepting the other books that came after the gospel. Okay, so let us go to what the Messiah say. You'll find it in John chapter 4, and we're going to look at the 1611 version, because there's some precepts to that verse that I'm going to read to you today. Okay, I'm in the standard version. Okay, we go to 1611 version. And if you are new and you're a babe in this walk, far as recommended readings, I recommend that you start with Torah, which is the first 5 books, and read it along with the gospel, because your foundation must be set. There's many doctrines, there's many teachings out here which can sway you, or shift you. But in order not to be swayed or shifted, you must have a strong foundation. And that foundation is Yahusha HaMashiach. He's the rock. And we know what we see on paper is him. Okay. So if you study Torah along with what the Messiah was saying unto you in the gospel, you'll be okay. And then you will have greater understanding of the other books, such as Enoch's writings, Jubilees, um, the book of the Kings, the book of the prophets, etc., even the work of Josephus, because you're going to find that all these books do agree with one another, but you have to know how to precept it. And he's going to teach you and show you all things, because all things come by the Spirit, as written in 1 John chapter 2, verse 27, and John chapter 14, 15, and 16. This cannot come by flesh, y'all. This can't come by man. It comes by the Spirit. Okay? This is how easy the Father made it for us. But many making it hard, or they're trying to reinvent the wheel, and they just making it hard. Okay? But the Father don't make things like that. He's not about confusion, and he made things very easy for us. For he know what we're going through in this world of darkness, for we in the fourth beast kingdom. Okay, here we go. This is what the Messiah said unto the woman who was at Samaria, okay, at the well. And this is a future prophecy, okay? And I'm going to start reading at verse 23 and 24. All right. For it says, but the hour cometh, and now is, when the true worshippers, do you hear that? When the true worshippers shall worship the Father. Who is the Father? That is Yahuwah. Okay. He is the creator of all of us. He created his son. He created wisdom. And he created all of us, as well as the other creatures in the earth and in the heaven. All right. So when the true worshipers shall worship the Father in spirit and in truth, for the Father seeketh such to worship him. Again, y'all, this is a great message that the Messiah is telling us. In order to be a true worshiper, you have to worship him in the spirit and in truth. So what did that mean? And the mystery about that and the meaning of that, you can find it in Romans chapter 10 and Psalms chapter, I think it's Psalms 98. I think it's Songs 98, y'all, or Song 68, but I want to say it's 98. When you understand how we worship the Father in spirit and in truth, you will learn it leads back to the Messiah. For the Messiah is a spirit, is he not? And he's also known as the Spirit of truth when you study about him. Okay. And only through him can they abide in you. And once they abide in you, Then you can begin to worship the Father in spirit and in truth, because all things come from them who abide in you, for they are a spirit, and all things that you do will be in truth. It won't be of lies anymore. So you're graduating. So basically what this verse is saying, that when you receive the salvation of Yahuwah, which is Yahusha HaMashiach, then you can begin to worship him in spirit and in truth. And I'm sorry I get emotional, but when I see it, when you open my eyes, I begin to understand these things of what the Messiah is saying. And I get joyous, y'all. Tears come to my eyes because I understand what this means. And unfortunately, many do not understand this. They think they can do it by their hand. They think they can sit under an elder and get this, but no. The Father telling you he is spirit, and all things come by the spirit, and only he can give it unto you. And how you receive it, it begins with his son. Just like he is the first and the last, he is the Alpha and Omega, he is the Aleph and Tau. So is his son. He said, because did not his son say, if you see me, then you have seen the Father, because all things are taught unto me by our Father in heaven. So I do what he do. I don't do my will, but I do my Father's will. So when you understand that, then you understand what this verse means. For verse 24 say, Yahuwah is a spirit. Do y'all see that? God is a spirit. And they that worship him must worship him in spirit and truth. It's going back to that status of Adam, what we lost. Y'all got to go back to the foundation, go back to Genesis. This is what the Messiah restored unto us. For when we receive him, who is the salvation and righteousness of Yahuwah, then we go back to that status of being Adam. And who is Adam? It tells us in the gospel. Adam is the Son of God in the earthly realm. Mysteries, y'all. But let us click on the precept for verse 24 so you can go in your spare time and read about that. The precept for verse 24 is 2 Corinthians chapter 3, verse 17. So now that we have understanding now we are worshiping the Father in spirit and truth, now we're going to understand what is going to take place of the physical daily sacrifice and the oblations. Okay, basically these are offerings, y'all, offerings. So what's going to take the place of that? So when we go to the book of Romans chapter 12, and I have to turn to my book, so you have these notes. And I'm going to add this to the calendar. So, and when each year go by, we know to study and reflect on this. We go to Romans chapter 12, and it's going to tell you what's going to take place of that daily sacrifice and those oblations, those offerings that we offer in Torah. Remember, the renewed marriage, which is the new covenant known as the New Testament, is the abridgment between the old and what is yet to come. What is going to carry you over so you can get into the new eternal kingdom? For those who study Torah, we know that we could not keep it by our hand. So the Father created something better for you, so he can receive you and so you can enter into his eternal kingdom. Because let me tell you, y'all, Satan and his angels don't play fair. They want you to join them in Sheol, and they're mad and they're upset because the Father prepared a way for you. And all you have to do is receive it. That's how simple he made it for us, y'all. That's how much he loved you. But many don't see it. They are blind. They are blind by Satan and his powers of darkness. They are blind. And the only thing to break that power of darkness is Yahusha HaMashiach. For it takes the spirit for a spirit. All right, Romans chapter 12. I'm going to read the chapter summary unto you, and then we're going to read verse 1, 2. 1 and 2, okay? Yahuwah mercies must move us to please Yahuwah. No man, no Adam must think too well of himself. This go for male and female. but attend every one on that calling wherein he is placed. Love and many other duties are required of us. Revenge especially forbidden. And you get a chance to read that whole chapter in your spare time. But we're going to read verse 1 and 2. For verse 1 and 2 say, I beseech you, therefore, brethren, by the mercies of Yahuwah, that ye present your bodies a living sacrifice, holy, acceptable unto Yahuwah, which is your reasonable service. Highlight that verse. Highlight it, because now it's telling you what is your daily sacrifice and your oblations unto him now. This is what the Father is accepting now in place of what that he had put on hold and what that he has taken away from Yahusha. Verse 2 says, and be not conformed to this world. So this is a standard. This is a commandment he given to you Israelites and Gentiles, for those who have taken a hold unto the new covenant. He said, be not conformed to this world, but be ye transformed by the renewing of your mind, that ye may prove what is that good, that acceptable and perfect will of Yahuwah. What is that renewing your mind? Is that when you receive Yahusha HaMashiach, and when you receive him, they abide in you. And no longer will your thoughts be your thoughts and your ways be your ways, but you will have the thoughts and the ways of our Father. And because you have his mind in you, you begin to operate according to his will and not according to your will. Do y'all see this? So what our Father asks of from us, don't be like the world. We're going to be different, y'all. How are we going to be different? Torah give the commandments and the instruction. And the Messiah taught it unto you in the new covenant, giving you the mysteries and understanding, giving you what has changed and what has not changed. He touched all of it. And he will show you how to keep Torah in the fourth beast kingdom. Because we don't keep it by our hand, but we keep it by him. For he is the righteousness of Yahuwah. So because he dwells in you, he's going to teach you and show you how to keep Torah in the fourth beast kingdom. Because now we're under his reign. We're under his teachings. We're under him as our master. Do y'all see that? How everything's connecting together. This is why it's written in 1 John chapter 2, verse 27, that the Spirit will teach you these things. For he is the comforter. His spirit is placed upon us. This is why the Messiah said, I'm with you always to the end of the earth. And that is true. For he lives in us. This is why the world hates us. Okay? So we're going to add that to the calendar. Romans chapter 12. Because like I said, it's time for us to graduate into the mysteries. And time is going by fast. So I'm going to have to give y'all the highlights. I'm going to read one more to you. So I'm going to put that here under scriptures. I don't know why that thing highlight like that. Okay. So for daily sacrifice, and I know my computer moving slow. I need for you to read Romans chapter 12, verse 1 through 2. Also, I want you to read Ephesians, which we're going to go there next, 5 verse 2. For silent reading, I want you to read 1 Peter's chapter 2, verse 5 through 6. And lastly, I want you to read the book of Hebrews, chapter 13, verse 15. So your body, which is the temple, which is the house of God, is the living sacrifice. That reminds me, 1 Corinthians chapter 6. That's another one. And it's in the book of Corinthians 2 that's going to touch on that. So that's so you know how to become a living, walking sacrifice unto Yahuwah. Bear with me, y'all, because I'm going to find it. I know it's in the book of Corinthians. Yep. Second Corinthians. I want you to read that. Chapter 6. Just read chapter 6 and you will see we are the temple of the living Yahuwah, of the living God. Okay? As all you see, I got John chapter 4, verse 35 written. And while I'm in the book of Corinthians, I'm going to check on the other chapter to make sure I gave you that one too correctly. Yep, that's it. I want you to read those 2 chapters. Okay? Because it's time for us to graduate. I'm going to underline that. It's time for us to graduate, y'all. It's time for us to come up higher. Can't stay on milk always. It's time. Time for the meat. All right. So I told you I would take you to Ephesians, book of Ephesians, chapter 5, verse 2. Okay, chapter 5, verse 2. For it says, and walk in love as the Messiah also have loved us, and had given himself for us an offering and a sacrifice to Yahuwah for a sweet smelling savor. Now, the verse that I was looking for, let me see if it's in this chapter. If not, I have to go to the book of Hebrews. Whereas the Messiah set the example of being that sacrifice for us that was acceptable unto Yahuwah, the same is expected of us. And I want to say it's somewhere, yep, it is. It is in this chapter. It's verse 19. For it says, I'm going to start with verse 18. And be not drunk with wine, wherein is excess, but be filled with the Spirit. Whose spirit? Yahuwah's spirit. Remember 1 John chapter 3, y'all. Speaking to yourselves in songs and hymns and spiritual songs, singing and making melody in your heart to Yahuwah. Do y'all hear that? To Yahuwah. Giving thanks always for all things unto Yahuwah and the Father, in the name of our Lord Yahusha HaMashiach, submitting yourselves one another in fear of Yahuwah. So now what is taking place of the daily sacrifice, okay? And the oblations are our songs and hymns and spiritual songs, singing and making melody in our heart unto our Father, and always giving thanks. Don't be a murmurer and a complainer. Begin to have the mind of Yah and begin to understand why these things are happening unto you and why these things are happening to the world. But rejoice, for as my answers say, joy come in the morning. So when you look at verse 19 to 20, well, I'm put 19 to 21. When we follow our Father's commandments, instructions, those things are now received as the oblations and as the daily sacrifice, because we are what a walking, living sacrifice. Our body is a sacrifice because we are not choosing to do the things of the world. We are choosing to living our life as our Father in heaven command us to live it, such as keeping his commandments. Do y'all see that? How all this is connected together. So we're going to add that to the calendar. Now, Ephesians chapter 5, verse 2, but 19 through 21. Make sure I add that right. Yep, these things make our Father happy. Okay, so that's a little homework on that part. Now to the juicy part, dealing with the bread. Let's go back to this picture. As I began to meditate on what Torah was teaching us about what we did on these holy days, because we know right now we in the what is, we're in the present, and soon the future will be coming, and we're going back to what the Father established in Torah, and the prophets will confirm this unto you, such as Ezekiel. Read chapter 40 to 48, and you will see we're going back to those daily sacrifice and oblations that was written, that was given unto my ancestors. Because even then, Adam, all them offer sacrifices and oblations unto our Father in heaven. It's in the books, y'all. It's there. Okay. So we know right now we can't do it by our hand, because we're in the fourth beast kingdom, which is Rome and under Edom rule. And we know the Gentile nation has joined Edom right now. Okay, so they would do anything to keep us from keeping these holy sacred things, so they set stumbling blocks unto us. So this is why the Father in heaven made a better way for us, or a better covenant for us, so that way Satan the adversary cannot accuse us, nor go to the Father and tell them where they're not worthy to be accepted in your kingdom, because now he can't do that. Satan cannot use that no more. It's just like being a court, y'all. You have the attorney for the plaintiff, and you have the attorney for the defendant. So no longer can the adversary go to our Father and accuse us of any unrighteousness or any transgressions that would keep us from his eternal kingdom. Remember, our Father is a righteous judge in heaven. So, he cannot be one way with some of his creations and be another way with his other creations. He have to be the same with all. Okay, so when you understand that, do you understand that um why we now have to worship in spirit and truth? Y'all, evil ain't gonna let us be. They ain't gonna leave us alone. That is the truth of things. So now we can keep Torah in spirit and in truth. So some of the things we practice, because remember, even the Messiah gave us instructions on what to keep, because these things are what to do in remembrance of him, so we can remember what the promises were, because it's coming. The wicked don't believe it, but the righteous do. We understand these things. To them it's foolish unto them, but it's wise unto us. Okay. So when you meditate on these things, you have to ask yourself, why would the Father have us to make bread? Okay, especially with these certain festivals, because you look at, for Passover we had to eat unleavened bread that came from the barley, and when we get to the wheat harvest we have to eat a new bread offering made with leaven. So as I begin to meditate, I begin to understand that each ingredient that we use to make the bread has a spiritual meaning, a spiritual message. Okay, so now I'm going to take you to this sheet, and what I'm going to do, I'm going to make sure you have access to this sheet. So this is your homework for Pentecost, okay? We're going to look at the ingredients for the bread, because this bread that we keep as a memorial, whether it's for Passover, whether it's for Pentecost, it is to remind you of the Messiah, because he's the second Adam. And the second Adam set the example what would take place with you. Because when we look at this puff bread here, this puff bread represent what would take place in you when one received the renewed marriage. Because on the day of Pentecost, you would see in Jerusalem, see it began in Jerusalem, that they was filled with his spirit. They was filled with the fullness of God, the fullness of Yah. So this is what this puff up bread represents. And because you are filled with his spirit now, you will begin to walk and to live and do things in righteousness and according to the will of Yah. for those who allow the Spirit to come in and have his way with you. Okay? So here's a breakdown sheet. So let's talk about this sheet a little bit. The title of this is The Bread of Heaven, John chapter 6. For it says this in when we look at the precept, Deuteronomy chapter 8, verse 3. And he humbled thee, and suffered thee to hunger, and fed thee with manna, which thou knewest not, neither did thy fathers know, that he might make thee know that man do not live by bread only, but by every word that proceedeth out of the mouth of Yahuwah do man live. So remember, I keep telling y'all that the physical is tied in with the spiritual. So when we go back to the foundation, y'all, a verse sticked out to me. I'm telling y'all, it's something about Genesis. If you want to understand all the other books, you got to go back to Genesis. Because the Father just told us in that verse of Deuteronomy chapter 8, verse 3, not only do we live by the bread that comes from the earth, but we live by the word that come out his mouth. And when you read John chapter 6, you will learn that that word that come out his mouth is known as what? Manna, which is the bread of heaven. And we know it is the living word. And we know that living word is Yahusha HaMashiach. And once he come and by in you, you are revived. You are made alive again. You have become Adam again. You are restored. You're redeemed back unto the Father. Therefore, you can receive eternal life. This is why when we fast, that our earthly bodies don't die, but it's the spirit that within us that sustain us. And this is how we are able to fast, whether it's for 3 weeks or 40 days or 40 nights. This is how. For all things come by the Spirit. Okay, let me go to Genesis chapter 3. Because this is what he said to our father, Adam. Okay, just like the Eve is the mother of all living, our Father is the Father of all living. Mysteries, y'all. In chapter 3, this is what he said to our Father, right back in that beginning. I'm going to click on the 1611 version, y'all, because I want y'all to see if there's any precepts to it. So most of us know the story, what took place in Genesis chapter 3, when the Father was looking for the serpent, for our mother, and for our father to be accountable of their actions. Okay? But this is what our Father said to Adam in verse 19. This is why I want you to really pay attention. In the sweat of thy face shalt thou eat bread, till thou return unto the ground. For out of it was thou taken. For dust thou art, and unto dust shalt thou return. Now you know whatever the Father speak, it comes to pass. So from this time, he's telling Adam we should eat bread. And then y'all, when you meditate on this verse, it's something deep here. Not only he's talking about the earthly bread, but there's the spiritual bread that we have to eat if we want to live and not be in darkness. Do y'all see the connection? Do y'all see it? Because I see it. So now you begin to understand why this commandment was taking place. Just like in order to live, because when you study about the ancient wheat, I ain't talking about this wheat that you see today, because man does some manipulation, causing a hide breed or a crossbreed of species. But there's an ancient grain that's I think there's two ancient grain out here that still is existence to this day. And when you study about the ancient wheat, you will begin to learn that it has the proteins, the minerals, and the vitamins. Even Josephus talk about the foods that was available in the days of my ancestors before the flood. Because see, the foods back then and then that time was a lot more potent, richer in nutrients. But after the flood, there was a change. Okay. But this bread that my ancestors ate, y'all, had the minerals and vitamins and protein that would sustain you, that would give you life. Just like today, when we have these storms to come in, what's the first thing people grab? Bread and water. And the water represent what? Living waters, which is the spirit of wisdom. And who is that one that can give you the spirit of wisdom? Yahusha HaMashiach, for he is the iron and he's the fountain of the living waters. This is why you never go thirsty. This is why you never go hungry, because when you receive him, your hunger is sustained. Meditate on that verse, y'all. Just meditate on that verse. There's a lot being said. Because we know Adam and his children will experience death until the Messiah has come back. Because it's three parts to the regeneration. It is the body that has to be restored to its original, what's the word I'm looking for? To its original creation that the Father made the body to be, that's of the earth. And then the soul, and then the spirit. Three parts to this regeneration. Okay? Like I said, go back to Genesis, you begin to understand what the second Adam was doing and what would take place unto us. So according to this commandment that was given to our father Adam, we would have to eat bread, and we would continue to eat bread if we want to live until the day we die and return back to the earth as dust, because we came from the earth. We was made from the earth. So what's done in the earthly realm is also done in the spiritual realm. In order for us to live, y'all, we have to receive the bread from heaven for our spirit man to live. Remember, we're made of body, soul, and spirit. So in order for the spirit to be revived, to be refreshed, to remain in you, you have to keep feeding your spirit man with the bread of heaven. Okay? And not only will the spirit man feed you with the bread of heaven, he's going to revive your spirit with with the living waters. Okay? Now, we're also going to look at Luke chapter 22, verse 19, for it says, Yahusha took bread and gave thanks and brake it and gave it unto them, saying, This is my body, which is given for you. Do this in remembrance of me. Again, let me read verse 20. Likewise also the cup after supper, saying, This cup is the New Testament, the renewed marriage in my blood, which is shed for you. So when we look at the verse, Luke chapter 22, verse 19, do y'all see it starts with the mouth? There's a connection. Do y'all see it? When you read Romans chapter 10, in order to receive him, you have to what? To confess. Confess with what? It starts with the mouth. And when you confess, then he can come and abide in you. Because let me tell you, y'all, the mouth speaks what's in the heart. There's a connection with the mouth and the heart. Do y'all see this? So just as we eat the bread, the earthly bread, with our mouth, the same thing with the spiritual bread. It starts with the mouth. A confession has to take place. A confession of your sins, and a confession whether you believe he is the Son of God and whether he died for your sin and whether he resurrected on the third day. Because the mouth is connected to the heart. It tells the Father what the spirit or the soul is thinking from within. This is why the Messiah said, it's not that what a man put in his mouth that defile him, it what comes out of his mouth, because the mouth is connected to the heart, where the spirit is and the soul. Okay, do y'all see that? All right. So some ingredients that you want to look at. Okay. And when we make the bread, and it's very simple, y'all. Call this biblical bread. This is holy bread. You can say Hebrew bread. The ingredients are wheat, olive oil, salt, honey, and water. So this is your homework. For the first ingredient, which is the wheat. You know, wheat is a seed, which represent what? The Messiah. Read 1 John chapter 3, verse 9, for it says, Whosoever is born of YAHUAH, do not commit a sin, for his seed remaineth in him, and he cannot sin because he is born of Yahuwah. To understand that, you got to read the book of John. Okay? Now we see how the carnal go in hand with the spiritual, just as the wheat seed represent the Messiah living in you. Again, what? It starts with the mouth. We take the seed in, right? Through the mouth. Do y'all see it? It's all connected. The second ingredient is the olive oil. And the olive oil is the Holy Spirit, known as the Ruach HaKodesh, also known as the seven eyes and seven spirits of Yahuwah. And only Yahusha HaMashiach possess all of her. Because that's some great power, y'all. But let's keep going. It's also the olive oil represent the anointing. This is why you have the prophets such as Samuel go to anoint the kings. He poured the oil out of a ram horn. Then you begin to understand Revelation 5. I can't go there now. On the video, there's a video on it. It's on the main page when it talks about, I'm trying to think of that playlist, but it breaks down the horns of the lamb in Revelation 5, what that means. But let us keep going. So to get more understanding about the olive oil and why it's connected to the Ruach HaKodesh, known as the Holy Spirit, which is the breath, which is the wind. Okay. Luke chapter 4, verse 18 through 19, and Luke and the book of Leviticus chapter 2, verse 14. Now you begin to see why the Father commands us how to make the bread, because it represents the body. Who body? Yahusha HaMashiach, that we what? Partake in and become a part of. Let us keep going. The next ingredient is the salt, which represents the savor, the fire, again representing the Messiah. Matthew chapter 5, verse 13, Mark chapter 9, verse 49 through 50, and Leviticus chapter 2, verse 13. The fourth ingredient, I love this ingredient here, y'all. Honey. For it represents the sweetness of the word. Again, leading us back to what? Yahusha HaMashiach. You will find understanding of that in Deuteronomy chapter 32, verse 13, and Psalm chapter 119, verse 103, Revelation chapter 10, verse 9 to 10, and Isaiah chapter 5, verse 20, Ezekiel chapter 2, verse 8, and Ezekiel chapter 3, verse 3. And the last ingredient is water. And we know the water is the word, because the word what? Cleanse you. We also can look at the water. I'll probably update the sheet as living water too, because he is what? The iron. He is the fountain of the living water. So I will be updating this sheet, and I will make sure you have access to this sheet so you can have it a part of your notes. So when you are keeping Pentecost, you begin to understand what this represents. It represents Yahushua HaMashiach. And when we receive him, can they abide in you? And when the Father, the Son, and the Ruach HaKodesh abide in you, you become filled with their spirit, just like was written in Psalms 24, where your cup overrunneth, and you'll be like this puff up bread. But in this puff up bread, you be filled with his knowledge, wisdom, understanding. And because you're filled with his knowledge, wisdom, understanding, you now become a child of Yahuwah. You're now a child of light. You are now Adam again. And you begin to operate in his will and in his righteousness, and not according to your will or according to your agenda. This is what you become. Beautiful, y'all. So this sheet goes on to say, my brothers and sisters, this is only a small part, and y'all, it is because it's so much. Oh, let me go back and read the paragraph below number 5 ingredient. And 5 represent grace, y'all. The ingredients above combine from one body, the Messiah, Yahusha HaMashiach. And his name means I'm he that saves or delivers, the anointed one of Yahuwah. For he is the manna / bread of heaven. So this is the body we become a part of, and which means that we become his bride. Okay? He is our husband. He is our protector. He is our deliverer. He's our teacher. He's our master. He's our Lord. He's our king. My brothers and sisters, this is only a small part. It's more to this. However, the ingredients above have spiritual meaning. Communion / Passover / Peshach are not tasks, but are spiritual lessons to understand what is, to understand the what was, the what is, and what is yet to come. So you will have understanding about the past, the present, and the future, y'all. Shalom. Matthew chapter 10, verse 12 to 13. I hope y'all understand. I hope y'all enjoyed this brief lesson today. And I would make sure you have access to this sheet. Okay. But I hope you see what these holy feast days are teaching us. Okay. I also hope you understand about the fourth month, with why the Father took away the daily sacrifice and the oblations. Okay. Now we see that it's replaced with us. We are now what the daily sacrifice, because we are offer our body as a living sacrifice, and our bodies now the temple or the house of Yahuwah, for they live in us now. I also hope you understand Pentecost and why we keep it in this month, because we had a 13th month added. Again, Enoch give us the formulas to know when the heavens will add a 13th month. Again, man is not doing this, it's the heavens. And the heavens follows the most high commandments. So I hope this brief word today will give you understanding of these things. If not, seek out Yahuwah in the name of his son, Yahusha HaMashiach, and all these things will be given unto you. For those who want to attend the calendar class, for we're not going to have class this Saturday day that the heathen call. We will resume class in the next one. And that would be August, let me see, August the 14th on their heathen day. But take this holy day to take time to get into his living word, so his living word can teach you these sacred things. Also, FYI, we do not buy and sell on his holy days, because when you learn about buying and selling, you will learn that money is the root of all evil. And you will also learn in the Apocrypha through his it's through the Ben Sirach known as Ecclesiasticus. Buying and selling, there's a thing that's joined between them. When one buy and sell, you are putting yourself at greater risk to commit sin. So just as a nail is joined to a stone, this how close they are still together. Just as how close sin is joined between buying and selling. Another mystery. And to understand that, when you read Revelation 13, what is the beast is going to do? How he's going to get the world to submit unto him? Because the people want to continue to buy and sell. And that's why many is going to take his mark. Hope y'all enjoy this. Remember to continue to preach that the kingdom of heaven is at hand, for it's truly at hand, for we're in the 8th day of Adam, which is the 13th day of creation, which is the 8th week of Enoch's 10-week prophecy. Okay. Make sure the people receive salvation as written in Romans chapter 10, and baptize the people in the name of Yahusha HaMashiach. And if you have no one to baptize you, you can do it yourself, for the water is the second witness in the earth, as well as the heavens and the earth are his witness. As far as the Holy Spirit baptism, the Father made that simple for you too. He would give it unto you as long as you ask in the name of his Son, and it's given unto your heart. It's given unto you according to your heart, your faith, and your words. And shalom.